Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we're going to be talking about Ripple and XRP, so let's just dive in. And let's start with this tweet here. So do you see, this isn't a cryptocurrency or a penny stock. This is one of the world's most nearly trillion-dollar companies. Amazon, down nearly 20% in after hours. And I actually watched this happen live on the 27th. A lot of companies also followed it. Meta was another big one that got a ton of publicity with people clowning Kramer, which I thought was pretty funny. But nonetheless, we really kind of look at some of these larger companies because they give us an insight on what's going to be happening next. During 2008, the big game changer and the biggest thing that led on what was going to happen next was the tech companies really kind of collapsing. We are starting to see that. Now, a lot of people are questioning, like, what's next around this market? What's next around the economy? I believe that we are in a recession. In fact, I believe that we have been in a recession since the summertime. Remember what I said, 2 negative GDP quarters in a row, and it's basically a confirmed recession. Except that's not what the media told us. In fact, the media told us that's not the definition of a recession. In fact, we could have 2 negative GDP quarters in a row and still not be in a recession, which just makes no sense to me. The media has been really kind of quiet on things happening around this market as well as the entire economy. In fact, the media has been really doing a 360 turnaround and just kind of saying the same thing over and over again, which is, hey, no, things don't look bad, things are all good. I'm waiting for them to do a 180 and say, okay, we were wrong, we are in a recession, and I do believe that that will happen in 2023. But we definitely have to wait and see until that does fully morph into reality. But I think that we are starting to see things trickle down, and we're starting to see things break down. In fact, just in $1.5 trillion asset manager Credit Suisse, to lay off 9,000 employees as part of a radical restructuring. Remember when we were reporting on Credit Suisse as well as Deutsche Bank? Yeah, these are some of the largest companies out there around the asset manager space and the banking space, and they are collapsing before our eyes. Things are starting to break down. I believe that this is going to continue to happen, but what we are watching for is what the Fed is going to do. We have some huge dates ahead of us. This is the last weekend that I believe that we will have until we see some huge changes coming to this market. And we're going to get into that here in a second, but we do see BlackRock says pivot, the Fed will pivot. And we do see breaking economists at BlackRock are telling financial advisors that they expect pivot language at the next Federal Reserve meeting when they expect Powell to announce a 75 basis point FF hike, followed by 2 smaller ones and a pause to get us to around 4.75%. To me, this does not mean a pivot. In fact, this right here is a great way to look at it. Hiking rates to 4.74% or 4.75 and pausing ain't no pivot. Wall Street got to look up the definition of pivot. Pivot is a turn. Pausing is to interrupt an action. I think this is noise that will drive hopeful retail to be buying current position, and market will distribute this range for the while. And honestly, this is very interesting to look at, but I do believe that this is just delaying the inevitable. I think that we will start to see a lot more announcements around what the Fed is going to do after the fact. We still have to pay attention to these dates, which, yes, I will reveal those dates here in a second. But I also seen another sort of good topic to look at, or I should say idea that is kind of speculation, but it's still very insightful. And we do see, what if there is no global financial market crash? Because again, like when we look at what the Federal Reserve is doing, if we're starting to see things really kind of trickle like 2008, what's next is we will see a huge crash. But a lot of people do expect us to have this, wave 5 blow off top that will be followed by this massive 2008-like crash that could even be worse than 2008, which I've always also said that as well. I think that this thread is great. I'm going to leave this down in the description below. Definitely go check it out. It's a very insightful topic to address as well as something to argue about. It's very interesting. I really do think that this theory is very interesting, and let me know what you guys think about this theory down in the comments below. I highly advise you go read it. If you don't want to read it, it's okay. It's totally fine. Really, it's just talking about how the Fed might just completely disrupt the financial system and destroy the euro dollar so that they could remain in a dominant position in terms of the financial system. But I also said over here, and I've been repeating this since October 20th and even before October 20th, actually. And I said these are the two timeframes you want to be on top of. And you've probably seen this in a video before. I have been bringing this up here and there. But November 1st and November 2nd, that's right, this upcoming Tuesday and Wednesday are two big dates on this chart for an FOMC meeting. Now, this is not nearly as important as the December one, December 13th and the 14th. That's going to be the big time frame to look at. But the reason why we have been addressing this is with what's happening with the dollar. And a lot of people have been addressing the dollar as well. We do see here, okay, I'm officially excited. And here you guys have the US dollar starting to kind of break down. This is from CTO Larson over on Twitter. And then over here we do see John Wick, DXY. I'm sorry to have to tweet this, but looks like the dollar is back in its up channel, guys. Now we watch to see if we get a green dot breaking above the track line there. If so, that's a bad combo leading into the Fed announcement November 2nd, which I completely agree. And here you guys have it, which again, we even see down here, like, never left. And this is sort of just trend lines followed by what's happening on the chart. It could come all the way back down to like 109 before continuation up. I do think that we should all remain cautious at this time. I don't think that we should get too excited. In fact, Justin Bennett over here actually shared this chart as well, talking about that 120 move, which I do believe is going to be the top for the US dollar. We've addressed this many times. In fact, on the macro chart, going all the way back to 2001, mind you, we have the 120 fib level up here, which is going to be the last one. After this, we really kind of look at higher valuations, which I don't believe that we will see. I think that the 120 area is a perfect topping point for the US dollar. It's going to be a macro resistance area, so it's going to be very challenging for it to break. We're seeing a nice RSI bounce here as we do kind of continue to find a little bit of support going all the way back to September 20th as well as September 15th on the 3-day span, which there was a little bit of support there anyways. I do believe that we will see a little bit of a higher continuation on the US dollar. What we really want to see is it break above a 111 in order to see that. And the reason why I say that, we will most likely have this higher continuation is everyone is expecting the US dollar to continue to break down as we do see these huge FOMC meetings coming up. And again, if we do see a major pivot, yes, this will continue to drop down, but I don't believe that it is the time yet. I think that we will see something to push the US dollar higher in that meeting, and I think that December 13th and the 14th, if I am right, the 13th and the 14th, yep, that's going to be the big ones because these are meetings associated with a summary of economic projections. And the last one that we had was September 20th to the 21st, which, mind you, on September 20th, so let's actually go to the daily chart here. So September 20th and the 21st was back here, which led the dollar to continue to gain momentum and then kind of top out a little bit as it kind of came back down to test a nice level, which again, on the daily, you could see this having some major support here, which was a nice support range before it did have this higher continuation into the FOMC meeting, mind you. So this is still very interesting. And also, the last major one before that was June 14th to the 15th, which this was, again, with the summary of economic projections. Now, June 14th and the 15th was all the way back here. So, again, this caused a little bit of a sell-off, but we continued sideways to continue up. We really want to pay attention to these FOMC meetings because they do provide an insight on what's going to happen next. In fact, I actually have XRP over here, and this is on the 1 week. Let me change this to the 1 day, and let's actually look at this. So as we look at the chart for XRP and the US dollar on the side, you can really kind of see the opposite agenda happening when you see a major move in terms of the price action as well as a move down. You can see that it's all correlated to the US dollar. As the US dollar gains strength, altcoins and crypto start to drop off because, again, risk on assets do completely change in terms of the trajectory of the dollar. If the dollar is going up, risk on assets will go down. If the dollar is going down, risk on assets will go up. XRP is at major resistance on the daily. It's still hitting the 200 daily EMA. We need a clean break for this to have higher continuation. It is coiling up on the chart, though. I love to see the chart on XRP here, but I only share this just to kind of give you guys an insight going all the way back to some of these FOMC meetings. For an example, if we go all the way back to, we'll say, June 14th and the 15th. So here's the June 14th and 15th. So we actually had a nice increase in value here for XRP, followed by a little bit of a sell-off. And then XRP had a higher continuation. During this entire time back here, we've seen the dollar on the 14th hit a topping point and drop drastically, allowing a lot of altcoins, including XRP and QNT, to have a little bit of a nice run. Now, QNT obviously completely disrupted the scene, and this is actually July back here. Let me go back to June. Here you guys have it. So you can still see the sell-off that the dollar had. Then it had this strong move, which followed a sell-off on XRP. Then you can see that the US dollar sold off, followed by a nice little price move on XRP, kind of sideways here. And then as the dollar gained value, we kind of dropped off. But now, the US dollar has been cooling off, allowing for altcoins like QNT, XRP, even some of the other ones to have sideways momentum, having a nice little breakout. The breakout started back in September when we did see the FOMC meeting. Again, during this time, we still did see the dollar gaining value, but I think that it was moving on not a lot of volume or anything like that in terms of a lot of volume pouring into the US dollar. We've seen most assets, even Bitcoin during this time, having a nice little run up, but it was nothing too special. Bitcoin, in fact, actually just kind of traded sideways. The only thing that I'm really kind of getting across here, and what I really wanted to say, is just the fact that when we look at the US dollar and when we look at what's happening around this market, most altcoins are still down in the dumps. Even crypto itself is still down in the dumps, while the US dollar is still at a very high level. I've been looking at the US dollar, and I've been really kind of comparing it to even the total. And when we look at the total, I actually have a few things that I want to say about this. So first off, from the time that the US dollar topped back in March to the recent high that crypto fully made back in November, this was pumping for 609 days until the US dollar really started to gain momentum, as you guys do see here. Now, within this, I always say the US dollar is a perfect indicator on when we will see a bottom and a top for crypto. And I think that right now, as we look at the US dollar, we're still waiting for it to top out because it's going to ignite a bull run within risk on assets. This could be that blow off top that we have been waiting for. Now, if we are talking about this blow off top, why do I say it's going to be huge? Well, when we look back on time, for an example, the macro time base here, going off of the topping point and the bottoming point of the last bull cycle, we outreached to about the 4618 at about almost $22 trillion in market cap. Now, I'm not expecting us to outreach to that same exact point up here at about $11 trillion, but I will say this, some of these higher fib levels are very lucrative for us. I do think that we could see the high of about $6 trillion to $9 trillion within this 2618 to the 3618, which was also our topping point back in May, which I've told you guys many times on this channel. I do believe that that was our actual topping point, and that would have been the 3618 perfectly. So when the entire total market cap gets to about $9 trillion, that's when I'm de-risking quite a bit. But I do believe that this could be our realistic viewpoint on the total if we do start to see the dollar do a 180 turnaround and start to collapse massively. And I do think that this will be induced by the Fed pivoting. But is now the time for them to pivot? Is this going to happen now? We are not sure. But I do believe that on one of these dates, on November 1st to the 2nd or December 13th to the 14th, we are going to see a huge announcement around what the Fed is going to do. I'm very interested on seeing what's next for this, but I will say the dollar still can have a lot more momentum in it. In fact, where the RSI is right now, we are nearly at the reset area, which we've seen going all the way back to September of 2021. We seen this back in January of 2022, and we seen it repeat back in February as well. During all these times, we seen the dollar have a continuation upwards. So we are still watching the dollar to see when it is going to get a major sell-off event. We have been looking at the weekly. We have been looking at the monthly. It still looks pretty bearish on the weekly. On the monthly, not really. And again, I've always shared with you guys to look at the higher time frames, because the higher time frames give us a little bit of a better story to the picture. Even on the 3-day span, this is still a very good picture to look at, because when you look at this, it is still gaining a lot of strength on a support range that we have seen in the past. And again, the US dollar could have these major sell-off events. And I remember every single time that we had these sell-off events, I remember back in July, everyone said, okay, we're about to have a major bull run, and look at where we bounced off of. So again, we are watching to see what happens next around the US dollar. This is the biggest selling point to me, but we have a whole bunch of other updates and a whole bunch of other things to look at as well. But I will say, this is a historical moment in time. When you look at the US dollar, when you look at the FOMC meetings, this could lead to us having a major run. But is it time just yet? That is the big question. And I don't have an answer for you guys, and I don't think anybody else will, because again, they would just be predicting what's going to happen next. If I had to tell you guys what was going to be happening around this market, if we're looking at this being a pivot point, them pausing just to get us around 4.75%, this is not a pivot. This is them delaying the inevitable, which in my opinion, and we do see even Bloomberg saying it, the U.S. economy isn't in a recession yet. Yes, they are. If you go off the GDP reports, 2 negative quarters in a row is a confirmed recession. We are essentially in it, and if they are going to delay here, it's only going to push it into 2023 or possibly even late 2023 into early 2024. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe to notifications on if you guys have more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. As always, up to you all. Have a beautiful day, a beautiful night. Wherever you guys are in this beautiful world. This has been Nick. Peace out, guys.